Brewing is as much about the process as it is about the product. At its most satisfying, brewing creates a culture and a community that goes beyond beer geekdom to make deeper connections. It's about learning, sharing, and creating. It's a touchstone that can make people who've never met instantly friends. Beer with Strangers starts now.
Welcome to episode number 125 of Beer with Strangers. I'm your host, Tony Russo, and I'm joined this week, as I'm joined each week, by...
Hi, Doug Griffith from Extreme Brewing here, and I'll start off with my normal weather report. It's not too bad outside, although it's overcast, not as sunny as I'd like to see, but at least we're not having any snow at the moment. They're talking about some later here, I think, in the late week or weekend, so hopefully not too much though.
Well, what's difficult for our family is I have kids and my wife is a teacher, and so you'll never see anyone more depressed about snow than a teacher when it snows on Friday afternoon. It's like really
missed the opportunity to be off.
Missed opportunity. But we got all sorts of fun stuff this week. We're going to start off with the homebrew section of the show. Did you get a chance to take a look at that?
Yeah, I saw that.
All right.
Turbid mashes.
All right. What are turbid mashes? I know the words. I don't know why you put them together.
It's an old way to brew, but mostly I think it was, from what our history says, it was done at the time when they taxed in Belgium the size of the mash tun. So they came up with a method to minimize the size of the mash tun, and they used a lot of unmalted wheat, just raw wheat, with some barley, but it made a really, really, really thick mash, and because they could fit it all in, and then they took some out and cooked it, boiled it, put it back in, and they did that several times, and that helped to do what the decoction mash. But it's different. I've never done one. It sounds different, and they say it really plays well with the long length that Belgian beers actually live, because of Belgian beers are long lived because of the bacterial parts of it. The microclimate deposits yeast and other things in the beer. Fermentation occurs, but bacterial activity takes a long time to occur, and it eats up a lot of the, I guess, the complex carbohydrates, the long strands of carbohydrates that end up in the beers from this method of mashing. So
it kind of like almost inoculates it.
Yeah, but it's just to get these long strands, and the bacteria breaks all this stuff down, but it takes a long period of time. And for those of us like to drink beer fairly new, this is not a method for that. So.
And you think that the reason that the Belgian beers last longer is because there's not so much in there that can get infected between...
Well, it does get infected. I mean,
but it gets infected in a predictable way.
Right. And it takes a long time for that bacteria to work through all those carbohydrates, and it's an old method of brewing, but they still do some in Belgium because of the beers that they make.
Very cool. So. And there weren't any gear gear suggestions this week. Usually we try to do a gear suggestion. I haven't seen anything that we haven't done, but I was wondering if there's any piece of gear that people don't really know about that like you use or you guys have here that...
Just a note for anybody who comes here for classes. We have ourselves purchased a Grainfather, one of the Grainfather brewing equipment. So we've purchased one for ourselves. We're going to have it for classes here in...
Oh, wow.
So we had, in the past, we had somebody, one of our customers, who had purchased one, demonstrate one.
Right.
But we've purchased one for ourselves, and we'll be giving classes on that throughout the year. So
that's super cool. I ran into a guy at Third Wave, and he was saying that he wants to get back into home brewing, but there's so much stuff and there's such a mess. And I said, first of all, I'm not on commission. The grandfather doesn't pay me to promote it. But if you already know how to brew, and I gave him the whole, if you haven't seen it, you can go back and we have some video on how the grandfather works. I've written a couple stories about the grandfather. And what it is a self-contained brewing system that allows you to do, you still have to do all the brewing yourself. It's still a hands-on project, but it's just one pot and then the fermentation process.
It's somewhat, I won't say automated, but there are tools to use that come with it. It's the temperature and a pump,
right?
All part of the package. So you can also look at our website. If you go under equipment, look for Grainfather. We have some videos on there that have been produced by Grainfather.
Yeah, it's as I said, I was struck with it. I was struck with it immediately, and we've done a couple stories, and it's worth seeing, and we'll do it again. And also, last but not least, keep your eyes open because we may have a mead event here where someone's going to come in and talk about mead.
Not may, we are.
That's a fact.
That's a fact.
I may take a picture of it,
yes.
But it's definitely going.
Yes.
All right.
February 18th.
Hopefully we can do a video of it, but definitely February 18th, 2 to 4.
Jay Talkington, who is going to be opening Birmingham Meadery on just outside of Lewis, he's anticipating being open sometime in March. That's why we've been able to get him. If we were later than that, he wouldn't have enough time.
Wow, so that's how close it is to happening.
Yes.
Very exciting. We'll get out there and do a story, and we'll get the story up for you, either on Beer with Strangers or on the
This building is almost done. So.
And then they have all the approvals they need. They just need.
Apparently,
that's very exciting. And actually, we can talk about that. That was one of the first stories that I had for today.
The resurgence of meat.
Yes. Did you?
Yes. Yeah.
One of the cool things, and again, all of these are available on the Sure Craft Beer blog. But one of the cool things that this story brought out that I didn't know about was that they probably discovered mead by storing honey in jars with fruit.
Yeah.
And I just read this thing on honey, which was fascinating in and of itself, because honey is coming back in a big way because they're getting better and better at making different honey flavors on purpose. And they started out by accidentally realizing that if you grew flowers close to the beehive, then you get more honey. And from that, they said, wow, and if you put different flowers, you get different flavors. And then from that, when they stored the honey, they would store it with fruits, and that's how mead was apparently discovered.
Yeah.
Which I thought was fascinating. I've only had pear mead. Oh, well, no, I had blood orange mead as well. Yeah. And that was very good.
Well, they take the hives to the orchards because it increases production of the citrus.
And what the other thing that I didn't know was that they didn't know when they used to put the bees to sleep. They did that by accident. Like they found out that the bees slept during the sacrifices, and that's how. And so they were just burning sacrifices to the gods or whatever. Not like goats, but like sagebrush or whatever. And the incense would put the bees to sleep. And eventually they put one and one together, and they said, okay, this is how we can make the bees sleep, so we can take the honey a little bit more easily. And also, the honey the bees don't count on eating the honey. That's their emergency backup. Yeah. So you don't have to feel bad about taking it from them.
But you can't take it all, especially where you have cold winters. They need a certain amount in order to
get back from them.
Live through the winter.
And it was one of the things I always wanted in an apiary. My wife is not. Yeah. She's not going for it. But anyway, was there anything about that story that caught you particularly? Or?
It's just that there seems to be more and more interest in meads, which I think is just an indication of Jay opening the meadery here, and there's somebody who, during last year, opened one upstate further in Delaware. And
the idea of being able to make your own thing and sell it to people, make your own thing that people want, it's just cool, and it appeals to people. And trying the local beverages is increasingly part of like the tourist thing. Like you go to a place now. I mean, you've been doing it for a while, but the rest of us are just catching up. Where we go to a place and we're like, hey, let's try this. What beers do they have here? What meads and what wines? And it's just nice that we have such a diversity in the area. So the other big story that I wanted to talk about was FeBREWary has started. I haven't been.
It's beer month.
It is beer month. I haven't been shy about saying how I feel about the name FeBREWary, but the idea is very cool. So we had this big kickoff event in the Globe last week, and there were about 50 people there, which was really nice.
That was in January.
That was in January. But it was to kick off.
February's coming.
Well, and the other thing was that we could only get Jim Mathias, the senator. He was only available on Saturday because he's actually they're doing. And the reason I'm telling you now, because this will be up by then, there's a big kickoff today. Because hopefully you're listening to this on Friday. But there's a big kickoff on Friday at Third Wave is releasing their their chocolate cherry stout. Which is that February is more expensive for all of the chocolate cherry stouts I have to buy my wife than it is for the jewelry or candy or whatever, because she loves that beer. And then also Evo is having a special secret release on February 3rd. I think at like 4 o'clock or something, and you can check out Evo's website for that. But there's all sorts of things going on in different restaurants. They're doing these Love on Tap trails and specials where you can, essentially, I guess, take someone to lunch and buy them a beer, and you get a cherry beer, and they're. I don't know what Evo's is going to be. It's another one where it's Cupid's Curse is the name of the beer idea.
And I hope it's going to be red. I would think.
You never know. I feel like they may do.
I mean, we've got our Scotch Ale, which is pretty red.
I have no Scotch Ale. Yeah. So Cupid's Curse is just the official state beer for Maryland for the month, and I don't know how many brewers are participating. I know that Evo is, but I don't believe any of the other local breweries are. But there's all sorts of stuff going up. If you want to check the shortcraftbeer.com website, you can see all of the different Love on Tap events, and I'll announce one every week because we do a show every week, and why not? All right. So next up in the news. We want to talk about Guinness. Did you get a chance?
Yes, I did. New brewery in Baltimore.
Very exciting. I'm actually not excited about it. I'm not as excited as everybody else.
But they're not doing stouts there. They're going to do experimental beers, and I guess the blonde ale.
The Budweiser flavored ale is what I like to call it. So Guinness. So the company that owns Guinness, which is called Diageo, Diageo, Diageo. I think it's called Diageo. They own Seagram's, they own Johnny Walker, they own Harps, Smittix, Guinness, bunch of vodkas. So this is a massive, massive company, and they're reopening a building that they closed down.
Seagram's distillery, and they use, I think, for bottling, from what I remember.
Right. So there's this bottling plant in Southern Maryland that they had up and going for.
No, not Southern Maryland, just outside of Baltimore.
Oh, all right. So, it was Southern Baltimore County?
Southern Baltimore, well, south of Baltimore.
South of Baltimore.
Maybe about 5 miles.
And it's funny because if you're out of town, the difference between 5 miles south of Baltimore and Southern Maryland is, I don't know if you think of like,
it's just outside of the airport.
Right. It's a very
BWI airport.
Right. Metropolitan area. Right. Whereas Southern Maryland is where we keep like the cows and. Yeah. It's still rural. Still very rural. So anyway, so the announcement, everyone is saying they're excited, which is always a bad sign.
The only thing I saw with what I read is the Maryland legislature has to pass it because they're anticipating having more sales than what they're authorized for their current
size.
Yeah.
And that is where the conspiracy theorist in me takes over. And I have a new blog because of people who are saying, you know what, Tony, you don't write about beer enough. So I have actually a column that I'm doing for a website called We Are Brew Studs. I do not claim to be a brew stud, but I do a column there. And it's called, I forget the name of the column. It's like Beer Explanations or something like that. You can check it out at wearebrewstuds.com. Or you can search on my stuff, my Tony Russo. But what's interesting about them needing to pass the legislation is that the Maryland Brewers Association has been trying to get that legislation passed for years. And that's why, because Heavy Seas is like, yeah, we're happy to have them. And I'm like, you know what? I believe you, but just barely. I think
I think they're anticipating 250,000 people coming. So with just a little bit of encouragement, Heavy Seas is only 2 miles away.
Right, and
they've got to get some. I mean, somebody going to Guinness is going to say, "Oh, there's another brewery. Let's go taste theirs too." I don't see that as being a problem.
No,
to me, it would help everybody.
Well, we'll see whether it helps everybody.
250,000 people coming a year. Go ahead, say it.
250,000 new people who weren't interested in going to...
Well, not new people.
That's what I'm saying, right? Who weren't interested in going to Heavy Seas are now going to be interested because it's Guinness Blonde. Is a tough sell to me.
But it's Guinness. Just don't say Guinness Blonde. They're going to have... I would assume they'll have plenty of Guinness Stout there too.
We'll see. I don't know. They said because they made a big deal, like I said, right on the release. It's like we sell Guinness Blonde.
Yeah.
And then they're going to have experimental ones.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I'm not going to say that I'm not going to go and try any of the experimental ones, but I would have gone to Heavy Seas anyway.
Okay, but you're going to go there. You're going to go Heavy Seas anyway. So and Heavy Seas says they're doing about 20,000 people a year.
Right, and that's what, and so I think that's why they're excited, because they were the ones, them and Flying Dog were the ones that were kind of bumping up against the cap.
Yeah.
And what bothers me is they couldn't get this legislation passed. But at the risk of sounding too xenophobic, but foreigners came in and said, you know that plant we closed last year, we'll reopen it if you take the cap off. So,
but it's tourism, so I think it may bring people out of Baltimore just south far enough to go
to try them both, and I'm sure they'll be welcome at Heavy Seas. But again, I'm always a little skeptical when you'll do something when they wouldn't do something for the local guys, but they'll do it for, like, Heavy Seas could have expanded 2 years ago when they tried to get this bill passed for the first time, and they couldn't do it because...
But I thought it was just on-site sales that they're... Is it 1,000 barrels that they can make?
No, it's on-site.
Okay.
It's on-site sales,
right.
And the distributors didn't. The distributors were blocking it, and now the people who own Seagram's come in and they want it, and all of a sudden the distributor's like, "Hey, that's an excellent idea," So it just smells funny to me, and
politics.
It really is.
Yeah.
It really is, and it's just tough to see for. Because when you're working hard and you're saying, hey, help out the little local guy, and they're like, oh, we would love to help local businesses, but, distributors are local businesses too. And then, the big guy comes in and says, well, the distributors are fine. The distributor's like, oh, yeah, no, we love this idea. Really, because you hated it 4 months ago.
Some things might has right, whatever you want to say,
And the other thing that I brought out in my blog that they didn't quite bring out as well in the Baltimore Sun article was that They closed it down when they closed it down 2 years ago.
We lost 100 people.
Right, but they started brewing Guinness Blonde up in Rolling Rock.
Oh,
so they've been they closed in July 2015.
But that was distilling stuff, Seagram's.
Right, but it was the same company.
Yeah, right.
And so the company had just started brewing Guinness Blonde up in Latrobe, Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay.
And so it kind of feels like when they were able to brew enough Guinness Blonde to make it worthwhile, they're like, oh, you know what? We have a place just 200 miles here. But anyway, I'm always less interested in the bigger guys than I am the smaller guys. So I mean, that's me. I know I'm a jerk, but I do my best to live with my jerkiness. Was there another story that interested you that you wanted to talk about?
Well, I saw the InBev's putting a new blog out.
It wasn't a good
website.
day. It wasn't a good morning for me at all. Yes.
So, I don't know. As another site for people to go.
Right, and
see beer stuff.
And I was saying this morning that we need more overweight white guys to talk about beer, and they need a bigger venue to do it. So thank God for Budweiser stepping up and buying this beer blog. And
they're calling it October.
They're calling it October. All little letters, because that's how you know it's crafty.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes. What's interesting about that is it's an established it's an established blog site that they've bought the people from. And I've got to be honest, I don't know, like, if I hang up, if we finish this and my boss is like, okay, well, we've just sold Shore Craft Beer to AB InBev and that's who you're writing for now. I mean, I don't know. I can't imagine I would throw my hat down and say, well, no, I'd rather starve.
Yeah.
So, you know, people are kind of giving the bloggers a little bit of guff. I don't know if it's their fault. Or
I don't think it's their fault.
Mean, you know, you never know who you're working for. I mean, you know,
Bev's got lots of money, and money talks.
Absolutely.
You want to sell me your website for X number of money?
I can't. You're exactly. It's probably the, because again, people like me. I was. Do you know Sue Ellen, who owns the other half of? All right. Yeah. So I was at Sue Ellen Vickers is a local dentist, and she's also a partner in Third Wave. And I was at her dentist office doing a story about her as a dentist for the Metropolitan magazine on this freelance thing. And Lori was in there getting her teeth straightened, and she came. And she's got the Invisalign, so she's been making jokes about it because she can't say her S's. So I'm not telling tales out of school. Point is, so Lori comes up and she's like, "You cheating on me?" And I'm like, "No, I will write about anyone they pay me to." And so with that still echoing in the air, I'm like, "Oh, look," and it could end up being Budweiser, and there's very little I can do about it.
The same thing. You want to pay me good?
Absolutely, I'll take your money. There's nothing else can be done for it. So there's that. None of you have reached out, although you are welcome to reach out about the recipes. I've done a little bit more research, and I really think that I'm working on a story now. But I think that come March, we might start to at least have tastings here. I think I might do like a little.
We can cook. We got a stove. We can get it out. I got all the pots and pans you need.
Do a little cooking series where we wouldn't be able to bake stuff. But today, did you see today's recipe?
Spaghetti.
Yes, it was very good. So
I saw that. I also like the one about talking about pizza and beer and the Super Bowl. So
well, we can. What would you like to talk about?
They all go together.
They all do. This is real quick. If you make macaroni sauce, I call it gravy growing up, but everybody calls it like marinara sauce, or this was bolognese sauce. They said add a little pale ale to take the sweetness out of it, and there's always like you put carrots in to make it sweeter and to take the acid out. So the next time I make some, I'm totally going to throw in some pale ale and see how it goes.
Yep.
Can't be worse. I mean, I put in some cheap
they were
wine.
talking about that rather than vinegar.
Right, and that's what you get. I put in usually some cheap wine and some Tabasco sauce, which is where I get my astringency from. So throw in a little pale ale.
It's cool it off and then heat it up.
It's worth a try. Did you think of one of the other stories, as you may have seen, is that pizza and beer. We like to talk about pairings. It's just a fun excuse to have more bad food with more good beer. And pizza.
Pizza. I'm not saying pizza's bad food.
No, pizza's good.
I really like pizza.
I'm not saying it's bad to eat. I'm saying it's not wise for me to be around a pizza. If I'm in a room with a pizza, I just hope to God there's 7 other guys in there. Otherwise, I'm going to eat the whole thing. You know.
So that's good.
Oh,
good stuff.
This is good. So the challenge that we've kind of issued, and again, feel free to reach out and let us know, is what is your favorite type of pizza with your favorite kind of beer. And for an example, I had actually just tried the Fordham IPL. It's called Crash Zone, I think. It's very good, and it put me in a pizza kind of mood.
Any pizza, any beer.
Any pizza, any beer. You're not gonna go. Well, you know what? Like I don't know how I'd feel about a fruity beer. But I chose mushroom and onion.
That's my favorite pizza. And
then with a nice IPL, because it's got that's interesting, because since it's lagered, it's not as floury, I guess, or since the yeast. Yeah. Do you know what makes an IPL different from an IPA? Except the method. No, must be. I mean, it's clearly a different yeast.
I think it's just lagered and different yeast.
Lagered yeast.
Cooler or fermented at a cooler temperature than lagered. And then you can even lager, like this is an ale, the ones we had, the Scotch ale. Mm-hmm. You can lager any beer, and it just helps to clear it up and mellow it out some.
And that's what it is. It takes the edge off of the IPA. My wife liked it. But anyway, so that was my choice. You didn't have one particular one that you had in mind?
Yeah.
Oh. But anyway, if you let us know, we'll put up a blog of your answers to best pizzas with best pizza toppings with the beer you would like to pair it. Did we talk about the tater tots? Did I post that one?
I saw that one.
So a couple weeks ago, Sean and I had talked about there was a story that we were making fun of, saying that people are tired of the hipsters are tired of talking about craft beer, so now they're going to talk about what you don't understand about crappy beer. And we said that was the dumbest thing we ever heard. And then this week there was an article about how you should pair tater tots with Genesee Light.
I don't like any light beer. It's just,
and
it's so light you don't taste it hardly at all.
I pair choking with Genesee Light. Like if I'm choking, I'll have a Jenny Light.
Now, I drank a lot, early days, I drank a lot of Genesee cream ale. But I always thought it was a very good tasting, full-bodied beer.
Well, and that's light beer. I feel like if you're looking to get drunk, have a shot, or like drink something that's non-alcoholic. But this seems like it's a little in the middle for me. And what was the third one? We did the pizza. The Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Did you have any Super Bowl snacks or beers that?
No, but I think we're going to do some wings or buffalo sauce of some sort. Not sure whether it's be hot wings or buffalo wings. So, but we're doing some wings of some sort, I think.
Oh, our thing for the Super Bowl is we do these cheddar cheese and olive balls. I don't know if they're very 1970s. My grandmother used to make them. But you take it's like a cheddar cheese and butter dough that you make, and then you take an olive and you wrap them around the olive.
Oh, okay.
And then so it's like a olive crunchy, and it is.
So I mean, it's like a pie dough. Then
you turn cheddar. It's like a cheddar cheese.
Or you put it in the oven to bake it.
You bake it. Yeah. So it's like a cheddar cheese pie dough with a green olive inside, and that is very good with pale ales, and that's what I think I'll be grabbing. I'll either grab a growler or a couple of 6-pack.
Boil them like the pierogi.
Like a pierogi?
Yeah.
I think you'd need more flour because this is just cheese and butter.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's a little bit of flour, but it's mostly cheese and butter. I think you'd need more flour and less butter.
I thought you meant it had like a pie crust on the outside.
Well, no, it gets crunchy, but not pie.
The whole thing.
The whole thing gets crunchy. Yeah. And one of the things is if you can bake them long enough to get them crunchy without burning them, then they're almost like crumbly, like cheddar cheese cookies wrapped around an olive. And I'll tell you what, I can't be trusted around them at all either. And I think that brings us to the end of the show. Did we have anything else we needed to discuss?
I don't think so.
Once again, classes here on
This Saturday.
Saturday, and that's tomorrow. It's Saturday if you're watching, and it's tomorrow if you're listening.
Yeah,
tomorrow,
on 4th.
Friday,
The 4th.
On February 4th. It's about 2 hours. And
Starts at 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
And if you'd ever like to learn to brew beer and you want to get 4 friends together, just call up here at Extreme Brewing, extremebrewing.com with the E or without the E. It's still extremebrewing.com.
And remember, drink what you like and be happy.
All right, drink what you like and be happy, folks. Have a great day.